Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Sharam Vishnu Padmanamang Sabhrivacha Kacharya Stotra Shakti Shishimati Dandi Goswami Sarang Vishwa Abe Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande. Oh, glories to the Sema devotees. Oh, glories to the Sema devotees. Oh, glories to the Sema devotees. Oh, glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Oh, glories to Swami Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 23, the Shishumara planetary system, and it's verses 5 to 9, I think. Yeah, 5 to 9. So since the verses are very long and in prose, I think we just go directly to the translation of Srila Prabhupada. So, text 5. Maybe in the previous verse it was said, where is that, the 4? Oh, 4 had a very long purport. No, 3 had a long purport. Text 4 ayah. The 4, it was this great machine consisting of the stars and planets resembles the form of a Shishumara, dolphin in the water. And it is sometimes considered an incarnation of Krishna Vasudeva. And the great yogis meditate upon Vasudeva in this form because it is actually visible. So it's the Himmelskörper, the body of stars, which is described. So text 5. This form of the Shishumara has its head downward and its body coiled. It's actually, I'd say, like a dolphin. A dolphin is also like a coil like that, and the head is going down. On the end of its tail is the planet of Dhruva. On the body of its tail are the planets of the demigods Prajapati, Agni, Indra, and Dharma, and at the base of its tail are the planets of the demigods Dhata and Vidhata. Where the hips might be on the Shishumara are the 7 saintly sages like Vashishta and Angira. The coiled body of the Shishumara chakra turns towards its right side, on which the 14 constellations from Abhijit to Purnavasu are located. I believe those who know astrology can have some understanding of this. I have no idea, to be very honest. On its left side are the 14 stars of Pushya to Uttara Shraddha. Thus, its body is balanced because its sides are occupied by an equal number of stars. So the whole body is like balanced with an equal number of stars on both sides, so that creates balance. On the back of the Shishumara is the group of stars known as Ajavidhi, and on its abdomen the Ganges that flows in the sky, the Milky Way in brackets. Interesting. So when we look at night up in the sky, we see the Milky Night is the celestial Ganges flowing. It's a nice meditation. Text 6. On the right and left sides of where the loins might be on the Shishumara chakra are the stars named Purnavasu and Pushya. Ardra and Ashlesha are on its right side and left feet, Abhijit and Uttarashadha are on its right and left nostrils. Shravana and Purnashadha are at its right and left eyes, and Dhanishta and Mula are on its right and left ears. There is also a gopi called Dhanishta, by the way. The 8 stars from Magha to Anuradha, which mark the southern course, are on the ribs of the left of its body, and the 8 stars from Mrigashirsha to Purvabhadra, which mark the northern course, are on the ribs of the right side. Shatabhisha and Jyeshtha are on the right and left shoulders. I heard once that in Bhagavatam all the verses have like a deeper level and are actually explaining all the pastimes of Radha and Krishna on a hidden level. So when I see like names Anuradha, I'm asking myself if that is indicating one of those deeper levels. Just a thought next to it. So text number 7. On the upper chin of the Shishumara is Agasti, on its lower chin Yamaraj, on its mouth Mars, on its genitals Saturns, on the back of its neck Jupiter, on its chest the Sun, and within the core of its heart Narayan. Within its mind is the moon, on its navel Venus, and on its breasts the Ashwini Kumaras. Within its life air, which is known as Pranapana, is Mercury, on its neck is Rahu, all over its body are comets, and in its pores are the numerous stars. Interesting. Text 8. My dear king, the body of Shishumara is thus described. My dear king, the body of Shishumara as thus described should be considered the external form of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Morning, noon, and evening, one should silently observe the form of the Lord as the Shishumara chakra and worship him with this mantra. O Lord, who has assumed the form of time, O resting place of all the planets, moving in different orbits, O Master of all demigods, O Supreme Person, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you and meditate upon you. Text 9. The body of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, which forms the Shishumara chakra, is the resting place of all the demigods and all the stars and planets. One who chants this mantra to worship that Supreme Person 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, will surely be freed from all sinful reactions. If one simply offers his obeisance to this form or remembers this form 3 times a day, all his recent sinful activities will be destroyed. So now there's a purport. Summarizing the entire description of the planetary systems of the universe, Srila Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur says that one who is able to meditate upon this arrangement as the Virat Rupa or Vishvarupa, the external body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worship him 3 times a day by meditation will always be free from all sinful reactions. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur estimates that Dhruvaloka, the pole star, is 3,800,000 yojanas above the sun. Above Dhruvaloka by 10 million yojas is Maharloka. Above Maharloka by 20 million yojanas is Janaloka. Above Janaloka by 80,000, 80 million yojanas is Tapaloka, and above Tapaloka by 120 million yojanas is Satyaloka. Thus, the distance from the sun to Satyaloka is 233,800,000 yojanas, or, where are we here now? 1 million, no, that's... I think there is zeros missing there because it would... 1,870,000,000 and 400,000 miles. That's right. The Vaikuntha planets begin 26,200,000 yojanas. That's 209,600,000 miles above Satyaloka. Thus, the Vishnu Purana describes that the covering of the universe is 260 million yojanas. In miles, that's 2 billion, 80 million, and 2 billion and 80 million miles away from the sun. The distance from the sun to the earth is 100,000 yojanas, and below the earth by 70,000 yojanas are the 7 lower planetary systems called Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Pitala. Below these lower planets, by 30,000 yojanas, Sheshanaga is lying on the Garbhodaka ocean. That ocean is 249,800,000 yojanas deep. That's a deep ocean. Thus, the total diameter of the universe is approximately 500 million yojanas, or 4 billion miles. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 5th canto, 23rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled the Shishumara Planetary System. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaschaita Deshatarine. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Vanchakalpatarubhisya Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I was just thinking, reading all these measures, which are like beyond my imagination at least. It's huge. At the same time, these measures are a little dimension considering how they're coming out of the pores of Mahavishnu. So that's even another dimension. We see our universe is 4 billion miles wide, and I don't understand. I'm not sure if that is with the coverings or without the coverings. It doesn't appeal to me out of the purport, but it's for us very big. And one of those it's just a little bubble coming out of the pore of Mahavishnu. So everything is quite relative, or it reminds me of the frog in the well. We are sitting here in this well and we are trying to measure everything by the size of the little well we're sitting in, so it's just beyond our grasp. And I also believe one of the ideas of Srimad Bhagavatam presenting the size of the universe and how it functions, it's to show us how small we actually are, how insignificant we are, and how vast Krishna's and amazing Krishna's creation is. On the other hand, we see here that there's a meditation being given on this Shishumara form, also referred to as Vishvarupa, Virat Rupa, the universal form, which we also know out of the Bhagavad Gita. And when we meditate about that form, we become free from all sinful reactions, like similar to the Gayatri meditation, morning, noon, evening. I believe you can incorporate it in the first Gayatri. There we have this referring to the different planetary systems. You can kind of connect it even to that while we chant the Brahma Gayatri. I just thought of this now. And it said you come free of all sinful reactions. And I was asking myself, well, wonderful, we get free of sinful reactions, which is in one sense something desired, because those sinful reactions are like an anchor, or we're a prisoner here, and we have this iron chain around, a few iron chains, a lot of them actually, around our feet and hands, which are these sinful reactions. They're keeping us back to enter spiritual life. It's said to come to the transcendental platform, the sinful reactions have to be eradicated. So that's definitely an important part of our process to become purified of these sinful reactions, to release these coverings of our soul. At the other hand, in and itself, I thought, well, we are not practicing Krishna consciousness to become free of sinful reactions. That's not our agenda, that's not our focus, that we want to become free. So I was thinking in that sense, why is that actually mentioned here? And I remembered that in the assembly of all the saints where Shukadev Goswami was speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, and actually by the compassion of Parikshit Maharaj, the questions he asked has evoked in Shukadev Goswami to address many levels of spirituality, because he knew in the assembly there were different grades of transcendentalists. There were those worshipping the Brahman. There were yogis there who were not yet on a level of pure bhakti or of Bhagavan realization. And with knowledge like this given by Shukadev Goswami, he could address the saint sitting in the assembly could feel inspired. Oh wow, I can meditate about this Shishumara, become free of sinful reactions, and I can advance. So like this, several platforms were addressed. I just thought there is one, to bring it out a bit pointed, there's one problem with this Vishvarupa, and Prabhupada addresses it in the 11th chapter of the Universal Form. As we know there, Arjuna actually asked for this form, and when he saw that form, he was like almost questioning himself, oh, why did I ask Krishna to show me this form? It's quite ghastly. Also when he saw how this form devours everything, devours all the soldiers on the battlefield, he was almost becoming afraid of that form, and he asked Krishna, please go back to your human-like form. And he, I believe proper first Krishna went in a 400 Narayan form, and then and it was interesting that even with that Arjuna was not fully satisfied. He wanted to have Krishna as his two-handed form, as his friend, how his relationship was with Krishna. So in the 11th canto, 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, you have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. So then Prabhupada, in the end of the purport, said, a devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. So I thought that's very striking. It might make us free from sinful reactions, but it's say very simply expressed, not a practical form where you can exchange loving feelings, as Prabhupada writes. Either a devotee wants to offer his respectful, worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the two-handed Krishna form so that he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's also reflecting Arjuna's mood there, that he actually wanted to have the two-handed form, which he knew where he was used to reciprocating with Krishna on a loving basis. And I strongly also suggest that that's Prabhupada's mood, or what he actually has to offer us, this level of a loving exchange, of actually what all our tradition is offering to us, to, like we always hear this, the 5 Shantaras. We may argue if this is a relationship, but especially with the 4 moods of devotional service, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and conjugal mellow. It's actually an offering to us to enter into a loving relationship with Krishna where there's reciprocation. And this reciprocation is not in something huge or maybe abstract, or not even abstract, but maybe even fearsome, big, not so relatable, but it's actually a person. And in one other place, I haven't found it, it's said that Krishna expands himself unlimitedly and constantly into many forms and many jivas, actually to relish something, to relish that loving exchange. He manifested all of us actually to relish more of this loving exchange. And in that sense, there are certain souls who go astray, and then for that purpose Krishna makes the material world, and he created a machinery in this material world. I call it the universal pedagogical agency, the karma system, to actually help us come back to our senses and understand, oh, something's wrong here, and there is another place and another mood, another view to come into our original position of being a part of Krishna, to offer this love and give pleasure to Krishna and engage in such a reciprocal relationship, which is actually Krishna is hankering for, which Krishna is longing for, that love. Like Prabhupada writes in a purport, I think it's in 1:17, that Krishna is, how does he say? He's so desirous of having us back as we never can desire. And I think also a very good picture and Leela of that is when Krishna greets Gopkumar in the spiritual world, where we have that picture in the back. Krishna says, "Where have you been? Like, I've waited so long for you." And it's actually, this is a very special picture because it has a very deep meaning and it's very emotionally laden. It's a very heavy in a positive sense. It's a deep picture because that's actually the longing of Krishna to have us back in the spiritual world, embracing Gopkumar, and he's waiting for all of us to come back and waiting for our love to be offered to him, because he cannot demand it. It's also written in Bhagavatamrita, when he sent the guru of Gopkumar, Jayanta, I've broken actually my principle of giving total free will to my soul. So it's totally in our decision if we want to love Krishna or not. He leaves it actually free to us. He says to Arjuna at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Yatecha Sita Thakuru, I told you this, now you decide. But because he's missing us, he sent the guru of Gopkumar, and he said, I went against my laws, and by the pure influence of the Guru, I tricked Gop Kumar that he started chanting that mantra and slowly came back to me. And out of a good cause, because he missed Gop Kumar. The same way it's said that Krishna misses all of us jivas because he manifested us with this sleeping dormant love inside, which is meant to be offered back to him so he can have pleasure. And in the same way we can have pleasure because it just goes reciprocal. And now I just ask myself how I got here. We spoke about, yes, the meditation on, or let's say the mood of Arjuna wanting to see his two-armed form, and what was the problem with that Vishvarupa form, as Prabhupada explained. That a devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. And I looked for some more. Actually, Bhagavad Gita has really interesting things there. I also like how Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, again and again, Bhagavad Gita, battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna, it's away from Vrindavan, but in the purports he brings in Shyamsundar. Like in the last, not the last verse, 6:30, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Where he goes to the culmination of that chapter, like the best yogi is always the one who always meditates on Krishna. And there Prabhupada brings the verse Primanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santasa deva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundrama chinti guna sarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. And that's a verse which we again and again meet in Prabhupada's purports. So it's one of those Prabhupada verses which he liked very much, because there was a word Shama Sundara inside Prema, and he often brings that verse to explain how actually realization of Krishna or the Krishna conscious works. It's the Premanjana. Anjana is an ointment, and Prema, the ointment of love, which is Churita Bhakti, which is smeared on the eyes, this ointment of love. Santas Sadeva, the Santas, the pure devotees, Sada Eva, always in their hearts they see. And who do they see? Yam, this Shama Sundaram, who is Achintya, ununderstandable, and Guna Sarupan, full of multifarious qualities and forms. So this Govindam, who is Shama Sundara, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, this Govindam I worship. And actually, so yeah, there, and in another place actually, where am I? No, I got the wrong button. Bookmarks. At another place, Prabhupada, that's in the 11th canto 55, says Prabhupada, Krishna is the origin of all forms. There are hundreds and thousands of Vishnus. But for a devotee, no form of Krishna is important but the original form, two-handed Shama Sundara. Also, the name Shama Sundara is a form which is only in Vrindavan. It really, if we want to express God or Krishna, to be sure that we get him in Vrindavan, we use the word Shama Sundara. And in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that those who are attracted to the Shama Sundara form of Krishna in love and devotion can see him always within the heart and cannot see anything else. He kind of paraphrases that verse from that Premanjana Turita Bhakti Vilochanena. So I feel strongly this is Prabhupada's mood coming into this purpose, that he wants to offer us Vrindavan Krishna, Shama Sundar. Because it says this is the Rasaraj, the embodiment of all mellows of devotional service is there in Krishna. He's the most attractive form. He's the original form, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Eti Chang Sakala Pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So the original form with all the qualities, with all the sweetness and rasas inside, and that actually Prabhupada wants to offer to us. And at the same time, as in an audience of Bhagavad Gita, there might be devotees sitting who are attracted to an impersonal feature, which not so often like in a Bhagavatam class here we have devotees, but there might be devotees who are attracted to Ramachandra or Vishnu or Narayan. And then in the same way also Bhagavatam is presenting this in a way that every transcendentalist or devotee has some reference there. And of course Bhagavatam ultimately guides us up to Goloka Vrindavan in the 10th canto. So I thought in the same way like in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's times there was Murari Gupta, an incarnation of Hanuman. He was attracted to Ramachandra. Or there was Jagat Ananda Pandit who was either Vishaka or Lalita. I always mix up the two, the more strong one. One of the two, I always mix them up. One of the two is more soft and the one is quite strong, who always chastises Krishna in Vrindavan. So that's Jagadananda Pandit. So he came as an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his more mood, which is more in... no, actually I'm getting mixed up. It's either Rukmini, Jagadananda Pandit said is Rukmini or Satyabhama. I think it was Satyabhama. Satyabhama was incarnation of the stronger one of the two main gopis. Yeah, exactly. So that's it. So that a certain mood of Dvarak coming there, which is a bit less close, a bit less sweet, a bit less confidential like in Vrindavan, still very confidential, but there's a bit of awe and reverence in there. But I thought it's interesting how all these devotees, or Brahma comes as Haridas Thakur, and comes into the Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because they all want to be there, and somehow they all take part actually in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's relishing of Madhurya Leela somewhat. They are somewhat connected, although they have their original mood out of their kind of eternal position. And in this way it also shows how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu combines all the moods and bhavas in how all these devotees appeared in his Leela. So going back to Shyama Sundara and Prabhupada's mood, how he is actually offering us Shyama Sundara, where he's offering us the mood of Vrindavan. And in this sense, also on the term of this shloka, which actually is offering us a meditation. I said 3 times a day we can meditate about this Shishumara form. In the same way, our tradition also offers us meditations on Vrindavan, on that what our tradition actually wants to offer. And if I say Prabhupada wants to offer, is I believe our whole, not I believe, I know our whole parampara wants to offer the understanding of Goloka Vrindavan, of this very close and intimate bhakti to us. It's actually a bhakti where once we get there, we forget Krishna is God. With Krishna arranged that way because he doesn't want it to be, what is the word? Covered or disturbed by an understanding, you are the great God, we need to be respectful to you. That's actually quite amazing. It's quite far out actually. I also thought, on a side note, I was standing at the Diti greeting Luther Kornita and looked out of the window and you see parts of Zurich. I think this big town of Zurich and in this big town is Gaur-Nitai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. How amazing. I just thought, wow, Gaur-Nitai is here and Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Kurmadev, Singadev, Padmanabha, Giriraj is there also. So I thought that's, in Krishna consciousness, amazing things are happening. So this tradition offers us this understanding of Vrindavan and also a meditation on Vrindavan. And let's say one of the stepping points of meditation, or we call it smaranam, in our tradition is offered, is called mantramaya upasana. It's an understanding, I forgot the other term, let's go first to this one, mantramaya upasana, with a mantra. I don't know the literal word of maya, but upasana is kind of meditation with help of meditate and to think about Krishna. And then there's a higher level where it just spontaneously remembrances of Krishna come up while you chant or you are reading on Krishna. It bubbles up. That's a higher, more spontaneous level. But the mantramaya upasana is actually with the help of a mantra, and actually Prabhupada has installed many of those in our program. Like one very prominent one and very authorized one is the deity greeting, where he used these two verses, Venum Konantam Aravinda Dalayataksam and Anganyasya. They're actually mentioned in our tradition as shlokas for this kind of meditation. They're like taking these two these are verses to actually meditate on how Krishna looks, what he does. He's holding all the universes. He's Satchitananda. He plays flute. Has beautiful eyes. Venum Konantam Aravinda Dalayataksam Bharhavatam. He has a peacock feather. One of the most essential signs of Krishna is the peacock feather. And then also with our song before Srimad Bhagavatam class, Jaya Radha Madhava, it's also actually a mantramaya upasana meditation, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, is the enjoyer in the kunjas of Vrindavan, the Bihari, the enjoyer. Gopi Jana Vallabha is the Vallabha, the dear of all the gopis. Gopi Jana Vallabha. Yamuna, Girivaradari is the holder of the Giriraj Govardhan. Yashodanandana, he's the son of Yashodana. Yashodanandana, Brajajana, and the Brajajan, of all the Brajajanas, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the Vallabha, the most dear one, like Radha Vallabha, he the one who is dear to Radharani. And Yamuna Tira, Vanachari, he is the one who walks along the banks of the Yamuna. That's also very much, Yamuna is kind of inseparable from Krishna, or from Vrindavan. It's like, where is Yamuna? Somewhere is Krishna, and he turns up playing the flute. And that's because it's said in this song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's walking along the Yamuna playing his flute. So that's also a kind of a mantramaya upasana meditation we can use every day on remembering how Krishna is. And one of the offered mantramaya upasana meditations in our tradition is a very famous verse from the 10th canto of I think it's the Venu Gita, 21st chapter, verse 5, to maybe go before. Shukadev Goswami in the 10th canto, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani, Shishi Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. That it's described that Shukadev Goswami describes the Vrindavan forest filled with transparent autumnal waters and cooled by breezes, perfumed with the fragrance of lotus flowers in the clear lakes. And there, the Krishna, with his cows and cowherd boyfriends, he entered that Vrindavan forest. It's actually how... And the lakes, rivers, hills of Vrindavan resounded with the sounds of maddened bees and flocks of birds. So the whole Vrindavan is kind of vibrating. The birds are chirping. The bees are humming like anything. And they're all moving around these flowering trees. I remember in the Serbian summer camp, it's called Fruška Gora, the place, we always call it Fruška Goranga. And it's a big forest patch, and there's a lot of linde. How do you call linden trees? There's I don't know the English word, linde. And linde, when they bloom in summer, the whole tree is vibrating. And because there's a lot of bee farmers, there's a lot of bee boxes there, and the whole forest is like this. So I was thinking there could be high in Vrindavan, the whole forest like going like this, vibrating, and I guess much more beautiful than that. And in the company of the cowherd boys, Balaram, Krishna and Balaram, Madhupati is here expressed as Krishna, entered that forest, and when holding a house, he began to vibrate his flute. So he steps into that forest and he starts playing that flute. And then when the gopis in the cowherd village of Braj hear that song of Krishna's flute, which arouses the influence of Cupid, in other words, it makes them transcendently eager, lusty, we might say, to go and see Krishna, to be with him. They started, because they couldn't go, it was during the day, they had their household duties, they were there, they couldn't go away, everything was awake, it wasn't in the middle of the night where they could sneak away. The only thing they could do, they could start thinking of Krishna, meditating of Krishna. There we have the other, it's not the mantramaya upasana, it's the spontaneous meditation of Krishna. And they described the qualities to their intimate friends. So they began to speak about Krishna, but then the problem, by the power of Cupid, it said, by their overwhelming of love, they couldn't speak anymore. Of like ecstatic symptoms overwhelming their body, so they just couldn't speak anymore. And then, it seems like they could catch themselves and speak again, and then they spoke that very famous verse. Barha pidam natavarava pukarna yukarnikaram vibradvasa kanaka kapisham vaijayantim chamalam randran venuradhara sudaya puran gopa brindaya vrindaranyam sapadaramanam bhavishat kirta kirti. So this is a verse specifically mentioned by our acharyas as one of those mantramaya upasana verses which are there to meditate or to remember Krishna. And it's actually, as my spiritual master says, when you're chanting, take out such a verse, read it, and then without forcefully trying to remember it, just keep on chanting and let the magic happen, and see suddenly like a remembrance of this verse start tinkling into your mind like that. It's not a forced process. We allow Krishna to do this. It's just like giving a stimulus like that. And the more and more we do that, actually, the more we train it, the more and more it starts coming in. And in the words of my spiritual master, who is very much, he describes his development that after 20 years of Krishna consciousness, he was thinking, this process is not working, should I leave this process? And then he discovered, and he said, I couldn't go because I had too much love for Prabhupada. But then he said he discovered the chanting of the holy name. So he put a lot of energy in this holy name, and I'm telling this because he said, but then I discovered something which brought my chanting to the next level, even after more than that, much later. And he said, and it's actually this mantramaya upasana, or this taking a verse, reading it while chanting, and then let it try to sink into mind. So let's go to this verse. So Krishna, wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head. Here we have it again, the peacock feather, Krishna's main sign. In German we say Markenzeichen. I don't know the English word. The brand, kind of, yeah. The brand, yeah. It's brand mark, almost, yeah, brand mark on his head. Blue Karnikara flowers on his ears. So the Karnikara flowers, they look like little trumpets. And you can easily stick them on your head. And I'll come to it later. Yellow garment, as brilliant as gold. That's also, let's say, one of Krishna's brand marks, his golden lightning dhoti. And Vaijayanti garland, which is like swinging, and the forest flower. Vaijayanti is forest flower. And one of the characteristics of Vaijayanti is it's always bees are humming around, going crazy from this smell from the flowers mixed with Krishna's body there. That's why the whole forest is going crazy, because of that smell of that garland. Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as greatest of dancers. So he didn't only pick out his flute, he dancefully went into Vrindavan dancing with Balaram and all the cowherd boys. And this picture is just overwhelming the gopis when they think about that. Beautified with the marks of his footprints. So he made footprints on the forest. And it's like when sometimes the gopis, when they're mad and they're looking for Krishna, we know when he left them in the night of the Rasa dance, they found his footprints and they were like, oh, these are his footprints. And oh, look here, the signs in his feet. And they're like, they're totally in separation of Krishna. So whatever is somehow connected to Krishna is just like, oh, here is a part of our prananatma, our life and soul. Then, in this scene, he filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips. And the cowherd boys sang his glories. So there is Karnikara flowers. The thing is that actually, especially the Goswamis in their literatures, they describe actually what's going on before and after these verses. And by their understanding, these verses start becoming alive, because it's not just a static picture. It's like he's entering the forest, he's dancing, he puts the flute to his lips, he has a Krishna with his restless eyes looking around, and then what does he do? He flips the Karnikara flower from one ear to the other. And like they say, that's another sweetifier of Krishna, how he's moving this Karnikara flower from one ear to the other, like playfully. Krishna is never stagnant or static. He's always moving and playing, and then the cowherd boys are around him, and then the cows, and it's just always movement happening there. So like in this way, our acharyas, especially the Goswamis, kind of describe how actually this scene happens, what's in between the lines, what's happening. Like there's another scene where Krishna is with Radharani on the Yamuna. And let me get it proper now. There is also a verse on this by Rupa Goswami. and there are peacocks around them dancing. And there's a breeze of, I don't know if it's Malika flowers coming into their nostrils. And it's very sweet. And where Radharani is always Rupa Manjari, in Rupa Goswami's eternal form is always around there to serve. And Rupa Manjari has this ability to read the mind of Radha Krishna and of Radharani, to exactly know what is there, what their pleasure should be. So he picks these flowers and he gives them to Krishna, so Krishna can decorate Radharani's hair. And actually this is just described in a verse, but when you know what's actually all going on, Rupa Goswami is not mentioned in this verse because he composes this verse, so why should he put him there? But he's actually there assisting the pleasure between Radha and Krishna. And then he said, because Radharani with these flowers in her hair looks so beautiful, the peacocks just go away, because they're like, oh, in front of this beauty we can not remain standing, even with our beautiful feathers and dancing. This is nothing compared to the beauty of Radharani with those flower petals inside. And then because Krishna is so touched by her beauty, and then Rupa Goswami comes to give Radharani some betel nut, and Radharani gives Krishna betel nut. And then betel nut, his reddened lips, his lips become reddened, and Radharani is like, oh, this looks so beautiful with Krishna's red lips. And because Radharani is again so touched by his beauty, Krishna gets inspired and he wants to kiss Radharani. And the scene is, it's said that Radharani has a red kissing mark on her cheek, but actually the scene is that she's like, Krishna wants to kiss her on the lips, but she's shy. Radharani is very shy. And she's like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And it's like, no. And then he gets him here. It's like this mood of, sweet mood of Radharani, like saying, oh no, yeah, I want it actually, but I'm too shy. But I'm too shy. And that's this scene there which is actually happening, and it shows that. And in the verse you just mentioned, she has this red kiss on her cheek, But there's much more actually happening, and this is by the illumination of the Goswamis who actually describe what was going on there. There's another such very beautiful scene when Radharani goes to Nandagram every morning to go and cook for Krishna. And you maybe know in the maybe traditionally in the villages there was maybe a village gate, and the boys used to go and pray around the village gate. But the boys also they wanted to see who's coming to our village today, and they're checking out everyone who's coming into this village. Oh, him we know. And who's this stranger? What is he doing there? And the same way the Krishna and his Gopas were at the gate to Nandagram. Krishna was sitting there on the side of the gate. The boys were playing around, but Krishna knew why he went there, because he knew soon through this gate Radharani will come. And then she was coming, and already she saw him there, and she was like freezing up. She hardly could walk anymore, and the other gopis accompanying her had to kind of help her walk along. She put a veil over her head, because she knew if publicly their eyes meet, first of all, it all is shown. If she looks at him too long, she will just fall over from ecstasy. She will not be able to walk through anymore. She has to kind of protect herself from that. And Krishna is there. I think he has a lotus flower paying in his hand, like this, sitting on the side of and he's just like, with a sidelong glance, he wants to get one of those glances with Radharani. And the sweet thing is behind it, it all has to happen unnoticed. Because there are all the cowherd men there are all the gopis there, and they shouldn't see that. So this all happens secrecy, but in this secrecy, the sweetness and the excitement is actually there. And then to get a short catch of this, of when their eyes meet, like that's their biggest pleasure, when they can meet like that. So in like this, these fine nuances in the Leelas of Krishna and especially of Krishna and Radharani are there, showing actually this sweetness. And another one of those is that Krishna once upset Radharani. He's really good in upsetting Radharani. We men, we have this quality. It comes down from Goloka Vrindavan to upset our spouses and wives. We're really good at it. And the crazy thing is, often when she's upset, we think, oh, she looks very sweet when she's so upset. There's on a side note. And where does that come from? Because it comes from the spiritual world. Krishna also considers Radharani very sweet when she's upset. But then, he can't leave it like that, because she rejects him then. So at that one point, I can't remember why he upset her, but there was an assembly at Nanda Maharaj's palace, and Vrishabhanu Maharaj and Kirtida were invited. And if they're invited, of course, Radharani, and they have to come. So she was like, oh no, now I have to go there to this Krishna who upset me so much. But he had to come, and Krishna knew that. And they were all seated in the assembly, like Vrishabhanu, Kirtida, royal visit, so they get all honor. So also their daughter, Radharani, gets all honor, and she gets seated. And for Krishna to kind of apologize for what he did, he uses the sun, comes in such a way, and he uses his head to put the shade of his head on Radharani's lotus feet. And no one else sees it, only Radharani sees that he's doing that. And she's like, okay, I forgive you. But all these, there's so many of these sweet, fine nuances in the Leelas of Krishna, which are actually so sweet, and it just shows how subtle and refined this exchange between the divine couple is. This is just a little bit when you, I'm packing out all my little jewels, because I don't know much about this, such a few things, but it just, when you read this, you see how fine and refined these exchanges are. It's not gross at all. It's nothing near gross. This idea of gross love, physical or whatever, this we kick out. This is actually our impurity, our one of our sinful shackles hanging on our feet from our experience of this world. This has nothing to do with that. It's very fine, very subtle, very sweet, very loving, like that. So yeah, it's 8:30. So I like to round it up, coming from the meditation offered here on the Shishu platform. Our tradition offers us, inspired by Prabhupada and our acharyas, who offer us actually Vrindavan and offer us actually a meditation spot on Vrindavan. And when we meditate on Vrindavan, Radha Krishna, what to speak of all the sinful reactions, they're just blown away. But we want to meditate on them to enter a loving exchange, loving feelings, as Prabhupada says. Devotees interested in, not in Virat Rupa, but in personal Krishna, to have an exchange of loving feelings. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, please.
Thank you so much for the lecture. For me, it's very hard to meditate on this form, like the Shishuma form, because it's like the whole universe is
Good. No joke.
How should we understand? Because then is it like all the planetary systems also are resting in this Shishuma form, right? And then is it a material form, or this is not really spiritual, no? Or how do you then misunderstand?
You just got some air, you want to say something? Okay. It's always a question of consciousness ultimately. I mean, it's described, correct me, that's not my speciality, that the Virat Rupa is a material, the universal form. So in that sense, it is a material form, but Krishna is inside it. So it's a question of consciousness. Do you see Krishna inside, or you just see it as a amazing form like that? And in my approach, if that's not relatable to you, like I said, good, that was a very personal remark, but in my opinion is go where you're attracted. Like if you feel attracted to Krishna, to the holy name, to what the bhakti tradition has to offer, don't worry about if you're not attracted to the universal form. And even based on what Prabhupada says, there is a problem with the universal form, because you can't have a reciprocation of love like that. So don't feel like you're missing out on something because you have some attraction to what is much more above of that, which is not about becoming free of sinful reactions, which is about developing love of Krishna, like that. Mm-hmm.
Is it from this form that we are, inside the form, because it's the whole universe, right?
Yeah, Krishna is describing in Bhagavad Gita how I am in everything, everything rests in me, and at the same time I'm also not there. And it's on the way, on the path of realizing Krishna. It's like understanding that Krishna is in this universe, is in yet every atom. Krishna is a taste in water. Like that is all like steps of raising our consciousness until we more and more understand that behind all this is actually a very sweet and enchanting person, dancing with his flute, with flowers on his ears, and actually calling all of us with that flute sound. But till we're there, we understand, we are here now in this material world, but in this material world, Krishna is also inside, like that. Yeah. Krishna. Would you like to say something, Krishna Premrup?
Just thank you for Krishna Katha.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a way it's interesting when we study Shastra read Prabhupada's purport, there's so much emphasis on hearing about Krishna, but then in fact we don't hear so much. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was very kind and he gave us the Krishna book very early on, and Prabhupada kind of encouraged that every evening we should read the Krishna book. So that's one way how Prabhupada made sure that actually we are getting direct Krishna Katha. Of course, Krishna Katha, you know, there's different forms of Krishna Katha. There's the words spoken by Krishna and the words about Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita is also Krishna Katha. It's not that this is less or something. Still, in order to develop our attachment to Krishna, it's good to hear about his sweetness, his beauty. Yeah, Prabhupada gave us the Krishna book, which is such a beautiful book and helps us to meditate about Krishna. And also, just a remark, comment. I also appreciate so that Shiva Maharaj's endeavor to publish all the books that he has published. And many devotees, especially those who have been around for a couple of years, because usually we say that we should first read all Prabhupada's books. Some say we should read all Prabhupada's books 3 times. and then if we have really a good grasp of Prabhupada's teachings, then we read also other books, which Prabhupada himself encouraged us to read the books of the Goswamis. But then also depending on which books we should read. But then Shiva Maharaj, who is an ISKCON guru, who gives kind of a safe, he presents Krishna Katha in a safe space. He presents it with the understanding that Prabhupada gave. So I just feel this very great appreciation for what he's doing. I started to read his books and it's great inspiration. Directly about Krishna.
Yeah, I appreciate very much your point. It sometimes tends to get, we're the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and then hearing about Krishna directly in Vrindavan, it doesn't have to be just Krishna and the gopis, there's so much nectar there. That's like how Yashoda is interacting with Krishna, so sweet, like all these things, and it's really about, actually it's not informational, it's transformational. It's something which should touch your heart and actually attract you to Krishna. That it's not always, I'm not allowed to do this, and I shouldn't do this, and that's not good for bhakti, and this is not good for bhakti. That more and more drops away. But we're actually, no, I want to go to Krishna, because that muscle of being disciplined, if we use it too much, it's going to get weak. And that's why also Rupa Goswami speaks about at the beginning in spiritual life, some tapasya, some renunciation is important, but at one point it becomes an obstacle. Because we want that heart to be soft for Krishna, to be attracted to Krishna. And then if we don't find that sweet spot where we are shifting from a kind of mood of discipline to more attraction to Krishna, and we don't miss that shift, our heart can become hard and will not be ready also for that attraction and sweetness of Krishna. So it's very individual, and everyone has to figure that out for himself inside. But he's pointing out to that actually. Yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Oh, there's Lokapavini.
I just wanted to add that sometimes devotees, they also say, I'm not qualified. Yeah, that's true, but still, like, how are you going to come to Krishna if you don't hear about this thing? So, yes, there should be humbleness, of course. There may be some kind of care in the sense of your mindset, but still, nothing should prevent you to hear about Krishna, because it's about desire, right? How will you develop a desire if you don't?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it.
Yeah. Also, my spiritual master speaks about that we need to get in contact with Krishna how do we fall in love with Krishna? How about hearing him? So we need to hear about him. In the beginning, it might be a bit mechanical. We don't run immediately to Rasa Leela, maybe, we are a bit more, we're careful. But we hear about Krishna in Vrindavan, which is said to be the most sweet aspect of Krishna, the most powerful. Tava katam ritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam. Yes. Okay, time is there. Thank you, Lokapavini. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Pizza, oh, pizza. I got the right thing.
Back to the basics, no?
Rules anything.
Can you just ask, because you mentioned that the spiritual master was recommending or any recite some shlokas. Did you recite them and then you just meditate of the translation of the meaning?
Yeah.
Is that also how you learn shlokas? Because I'm trying to learn, but it's really, it's so hard.
You learn the Sanskrit though.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still the time. We will not become everybody becomes Sanskrit expert.
Yeah. I just feel like I need to also learn some shlokas.
Well, it's nice. It's nice. Definitely nice. It's powerful. Because there is a power in this language. But at the same time, the most important is that we understand the meaning, what is there. So if you have the English, you understand the meaning.
That's the basis of the art and
I was just
decoration.
reciting
Like
the
the
Greek
it's
It's very important.
Yeah.
I like that.
And yeah, let it
Maybe people try to be conscious about it.
Don't too much force it in.
I also
Why
like
not
this
calm?
color.
Why not calm?
I like when things colorful.
Let it allow, let the magic of Krishna.
In case you don't force it.
You don't force it. You read the verse, no, no. And my spiritual master says, I'm a baby in this. I'm just like, I'm very much attracted to that. But the more you do this, the more it comes natural.
And how do you like read every day and then?
No, not every day. Sometimes I have, like this verse I spoke to, Krishna entering Vrindavan. I know the meaning, so I chant and I just remember the meaning of that verse. I don't literally have to read it. Yeah. Yeah. Same goes with Krishna book. And that's also been my spiritual master. You follow the attraction. You read Krishna book and there's a passage like, oh, this is so nice. And write down that passage and you can follow it up with your phone and have that in your mind and read it again with each other. And because what is important, there's some reference point, you have some attraction there.
Yeah. No, this is actually very powerful because you also mentioned this with force and with true discipline that we can get like heart like this softness. Sometimes I feel like I don't allow myself to be because I have to be disciplined, I have to follow everything, then I don't take time for this.
We have our process. We're our path is not possible. Yes, we do some austerities for Krishna, but it's not because of austerity, it's because we please Krishna. And we have become a big international society, rules and regulations. There's a lot of emphasis on rules and regulations, but that's not how Krishna. And if it means that the moon becomes sun, like very critical ones, the fourth principle. Many people struggle with this, although
understand like the combination. I don't understand how this is like a real pure art. It's so beautiful.
They're
You
beautiful.
have very good, you're very detail oriented. Things like also here I see first it's like blue and here the pink ones.
Yeah.
Wow.
We also don't have so much time. But anyway.
Yeah, you don't have so much time, but this is wow.
What is the inspiration from Krishna? Because it's impossible to dress 5 deities. Before one Buddha had 1 deity, so.
Yeah. Do you meditate or how do you want to
No,
know
I'm
how this comes?
I'm very spontaneous as a person. I like to do things spontaneous, so it's just like instant inspiration. So it has to come from Krishna. I'm not that. It's all meditative. But I like colors a lot. But they're cool. I mean, Jagannath's children are cool.
Jagannath is so cute.
Yes, thank you. Take them, I could save them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Breakfast, pasado?
Nie, po predu. Poznam predu.
Ah, but you are free today, Guru Mishra.
A?
Free. Free today, no?
Free?
Free day.
No, no lavoro, no trabajo.
Ah, ti è huti in tutto.
You can speak. No,
No,
trabajo.
no trabajo, es italiano, no, español. Pero, o Guru Mishra. Jai Guru Mishra. Love, really, Guru Mishra, you're the best, really.
Krishna's mercy.
Yes, Guru is, I mean, it's Krishna
Oh,
himself. He's amazing.
Hey, my dear, I was thinking, I don't know.
Oh,
I think I want to hug you so much.
That's why everything